So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
Continue or just start over? Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee with me, Tamarijuana. It's another great day in the East Kootenays, and we've had a bit of rain, but you know it's warmed up. We went from minus 37 to a balmy plus 3 yesterday, so I'm enjoying the loveliness of the warmth and the melting. We've had a baby deer actually living in my yard for the last 3 days, so go out and have to be real careful when you're opening the door to make sure you're not going to get beat up by this beautiful little thing that's in my yard. But, you know, they're culling them out here, which is kind of disheartening for us too. Speaking of culling, it seems that the Canadian law enforcement have been culling our dispensaries over the last year and raiding everybody that they seem to feel isn't doing what they want them to do. This morning I have a bud tender. Actually, I think she was the general manager of the Weeds location in Ottawa. Welcome this morning, Nova Coates with us. Good morning, Nova.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing? What's the weather like out in Ottawa?
Well, it's warming up, a little damp now, but it's still winter.
It's kind of like it is here. It's like, you know, it's cold and then it's warm and then it's cold and then it's warm. Kind of like the cannabis industry these days. It's warm and then it's cold and then it's warm. It's kind of like watching the weather. So you were involved in a raid back, was it 18 months ago now?
Just a little over 12 months. We're coming up to our anniversary date, January 31st this year.
And you're still waiting to go to court too, right?
Yeah, they pushed us off extremely long compared to most people I've noticed. I'm not sure why.
So why don't we go back to the day and how your day started and what you were doing and how this all kind of went down?
Well, honestly, it was a beautiful, nice day, light snow, and went to work. Normal, happy day. We were helping people. We were doing our information sessions. Everything was normal, good to go. And then a bunch of officers walked in, and some of them weren't masked, and they smiled at us. Others walked in with masks and kind of raced their way through. And it was an exciting moment. It wasn't like what you see in the movies, but definitely an exciting moment. Yeah, the masks were uncalled for, definitely. You didn't need that at the Compassion Center. We would have opened and welcomed them in.
Well, there was you and another woman working there, no? So there was 2 women and all these men come rushing in at you?
Oh, there was a handful of staff. The Ottawa cops pick and chose who to keep and who to take away. Weird situation we were in. Yeah, but as for 2 of us ladies were arrested at the time and kept in cells for 12 hours. We weren't even talked to. And then we were released in the middle of a snowstorm at 2:40 in the morning.
Wow. Now,
yeah,
was
there
anything
I don't know Ottawa.
Was there
Sorry,
anything
I
you
don't
think?
know Ottawa.
Yeah. Do you think that there's anything that led up to this raid? Like, was there any murmurings? Do you feel there was a complaint? Like, did they explain to you why they were there?
Well, honestly, when I first started the position, because I'd only been there for 2 weeks, they'd already gone through their legal mumbo jumbo in the city like all the other places. When everyone else was being raided, they had their possessions seized. So it was a little different. So like even myself starting employment there, I was like, all right, this is medical. We're following guidelines. It was different, you know. It wasn't like walking into a recreational center, which I honestly support them all at this point. But it was a little different, our employment. We had guidelines, we had rules, we had paychecks, you know what I mean, the benefits. It was an employment.
Right. So it was like a mainstream job, which WITRH is a franchise. So it is a larger corporate kind of entity rather than just your regular mom and pop small business. So
exactly. You don't feel that you're, you know, sketchy corner, glass window hiding. Yeah.
And prior to this, had you been involved in the cannabis industry or was this your first like kind of into the cannabis?
Originally I'm from London, Ontario. I've been in the cannabis world pretty much my whole life. I've never really been loud and verbal, but I've always been a user myself. Of course, everyone's had their dabble in narcotics. I did as a teenager, but it wasn't until I was an adult where I had a serious injury of basically breaking my lumbar and compressing a few discs. I started using a lot of opiates from the doctors, and then I continued to use marijuana, of course, to calm the nausea. And then I asked my doctor about, you know, medical marijuana, and we were in Manitoba. It's very weed friendly out there. And he was like, oh, you're healed magically. You can walk. You're fine. Go back to work full time. And then we just kind of gave up and moved to Ontario. I got a promotion at work. I moved. And then boom, I bought it off the streets like any normal person would, you know, and I needed my medicine. I'm going to get my marijuana, whether someone says I can or can't. Right. And then a shop opened up next door, and of course I was their best customer. And then boom, I got the job.
Right. Well, you know, I think that's where we've come, evolved in the cannabis, you know, over the last 20 years, really, because compassion clubs have been opened on the West Coast for many years. And we've come out of the darkness from buying from the dealer off the street into an open market where, you know, small business entrepreneurs, people, you know, have taken it off the street and behind a storefront, but it's still not legal. And that's a big fight. And even with this new, legalization or prohibition 2.0 over regulation, however you want to see it, you're still getting the dispensaries being shut down because I'm hearing, you know, on a weekly basis, there's another one in Nova Scotia, there's another one here, there's another one there. And it's funny how they pick and choose which ones can stay open and which ones can't. You know, for example, in Grand Forks out here in BC, it's a small, you know, rural town about 6 hours west of me. Vancouver, just for your perception, no, because I'm 12 hours from the West Coast, right? I'm kind of in the interior of BC, but in the east corner. So there's no dispensaries. We've got a Kimberley and Marysville have two, but we can't have them here. So the realm of the different patchwork, as I've said over the last year of the regulation as they roll them out, it just seems that they pick and choose because you guys were raided. Now that dispensary is still running, is it not?
Oh, actually, yes. I even went back to work and opened another location that was next door to my house. And it was one of the best reviewed on Google. And then they seized our possessions again and kept it out of the media and hush, hush. And my legal defense was like, Nova, I cannot get you out of jail if you get caught again. So I was forced to walk away from my position. But I'm paying taxes for my job. It's such a, like they said, gray area, and take notice. I don't understand how Ontario's thinking.
Right. And that's the thing, each province, Ontario is now wanting to put it within the liquor control board, right? Manitoba's coming out saying they're going to have 60 stores. I think, or that was Saskatchewan. I think Manitoba said 4 stores. It was ridiculously low. BC too, they've said that they're going to look at the liquor board here too and kind of roll it out in both private stores and liquor control kind of thing in Alberta. And I've said this, and I was talking to some... Go ahead. Sorry,
you cannot mix marijuana and alcohol together. Any cannabis user knows this. That's unbelievable.
Right. And here's the thing, I'm not sure that they're going to actually put them shelf to shelf. Like what I think the way the BC government's kind of looking at it is that they will open a private entity. It'll still be controlled by the liquor control boards, but they won't have pot sitting next to beer. They will have a store specifically for cannabis, and liquor stores will stay as their own entity as a liquor store. I don't think out here anyway they plan on putting them like shelf to shelf because of that fact, because they for so many years have said marijuana and liquor do not go together. So the hypocrisy of the Ontario government, if that's how they're going to roll that out, as it being shelf to shelf with marijuana sitting on a shelf next to a case of beer, that's not the way they should be doing it.
Oh, they allow stores to continue opening here even. We had a grand opening yesterday in the city of a very well-known one.
And that's a thing. Well, I think what it is that the dispensary owners and the people that are opening these dispensaries are going ahead anyway and waiting to get busted, because I think that's how they're pushing the envelope. You know what I'm saying? Like if everybody just backed off, shut down their stores, quit opening stores, there would be no gray area. You know what I'm saying? Like there'd be nobody. I met with Carol and Dawn when I was in Vancouver. Wonderful people. Mm-hmm. They own the Weeds franchise. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, she sat across the desk from me. She goes, "We don't ask for permission." She goes, "We worry about the consequences later." She goes, "We have lawyers." And I just went, woohoo, right on, right?
That is true though. Like we believe, like my location, anytime a city location was in the midst of being raided, my doors were open. We announced we are not closing until they come in with their paperwork. It wasn't until my lawyer said, "We can't save you at this point." Like, if I could right now, I would have one. I'd be still there, you know?
I know.
They're picking and choosing, really.
It is, and that's what I mean. Like, how do they choose that location got raided, but the one across the street didn't? You know, like that's what I mean. Like, do you think there's something that leads up to these? Do you think there's somebody that complains? Do you think it's a battle within dispensary owners where, somebody opens up down the block and they don't like the competition, so they file a police report? Like, I'm just throwing this out there because it just seems to me that it's not...
Possibly for the recreational one. But we were in a boat of our own here in the city. We had a different kind of clientele, very loyal clients. Like we had a lot of elderly people. We had a different thing, a different flow going. We were very strict policies. So for the way we're puppets, basically, is how I feel me and Cassandra are being treated. Yes, we're used as an example.
Right, and like I said too, they're really holding your court off. It's been over a year since you were actually busted, and you're still waiting to go to trial.
And I'm the only one that is very verbal about this. At first, I hid in the shadows. I was scared. And now I'm being loud because this is my life. I'm not a 20-year-old kid. I try and get jobs. It's not easy. It's very frustrating, actually.
Yeah.
I went from a very professional businesswoman to helping people to now I'm going to keep fighting. That's all I can say. I'm not done.
Absolutely. Now, do you girls have a lawyer and your court's coming up here soon? Do you guys have funding going or a GoFundMe page or anything going to help you guys with your legal costs?
Actually, my husband was the one to step up and make the GoFundMe page. Once we heard that the government was issuing fines, I panicked a bit. I'm unemployed right now. How am I going to pay a fine? How am I going to pay for a pardon? I have to clear my name or I can't succeed in Canada now. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not here's the thing, honey. Here's the thing. I was busted too. I've got a criminal record too. There are places that still do give you jobs with criminal records. And the pardon system, God, I went to go get a pardon from Pardons Canada, and don't go through them. This is advice I'm going to give everybody. If you're going to go for a pardon, do it yourself, because Pardons Canada will charge you a whole whack of money. They want $1,850. So I gave them a $150 deposit and got them the ball rolling. They phoned and harassed me for weeks because I had to go to the RCMP station, which costs more money on top of the pardon. It's $75 for fingerprinting, and you have to pay this $35 administration fee here and there. Then I decided that I had some issues with the RCMP. They had been here, and I knew that if you have any contact with the RCMP or any police force while you're trying to get a pardon, they're going to deny your pardon.
So I phoned
Yep.
and told them that I wanted to cancel it. So now they're trying to charge me another $150 to cancel. They're working towards my pardon. So I told them to get stuffed, of course, because I'm not paying $150 to stop you from doing something that I hired you to do. Like, it just seems like a catch-22. So if you're going to do a pardon, you can do it by yourself. You just go to the RCMP station and get the kit. And it's quite simple. You just have to fill it out and send it to Ottawa, the same exact things that they do. And it doesn't take any longer. They can't proceed the process any faster, but that's what you do. But for you, you're going to have to wait till you're convicted of or non-convicted of this before you even apply for a pardon. So now you're waiting. And then a pardon again takes up to 6 months to a year to even get. If sometimes it can take up to 2 years. And in that period of time, you can't have any contact with any police force of any kind, or you don't get one.
Now, look at my history of my character. I have been selling suits in formal wear for almost a decade. I went into the cannabis industry for 2 weeks, and now my whole name, name is done now. Pardon?
Yeah. You're Mud. Your name's Mud now because you sold, because, and the thing of it is with that one too, like, you were doing something you believe in, truly, or you wouldn't have been there. And that's where, right. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's why you have to alliterate to your MPs and your MPPs and your MLAs and everything else, that these are businesses. These are people that need these jobs, so they wouldn't be working behind the counters. They can't have their lives thrown into turmoil like yours has been because you worked at a place for 2 weeks. Like, I just find that so appalling that, you went in there doing something that you believed in, that you love. You got busted. You've been thrown to the wolves pretty much. Nobody's there to support, and they're still open and making money. That's another thing that really bothers me.
The thing is, when I opened that location, we came in with a boom of compassion. The city fell in love with us. I think that is why they seized our possessions again, was just a reminder, like, just we're still here, we're taunting us,
Yeah.
Because if they didn't see their possessions, I would still be employed, working next door, rocking this neighborhood. Instead, I hide in my house because it breaks my heart to go to the local Tim Hortons to see everybody I help and them to be like, where are you? What are you doing? It just breaks my heart now. I need to move, basically.
So it's totally turned your life upside down, totally, which is so disheartening. Totally. And that's the thing, like, and that's what I think was so frustrating for people that are on the outside, is that we don't understand how this could even be happening, and until you live it, you don't understand how it actually feels, because having a criminal record and being busted, it's a violation, no matter how you look at it, right? You're being violated by people you don't know.
Oh, even the raid was traumatizing. Just the cold, I had to ask an officer to cover my chest before I left the place. I had pink handcuffs. It was all embarrassing. Everything was.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you're, just like you said, not doing much of anything, trying to find another job. And before you were selling suits and living the mainstream life, and you moved from another province to Ontario. So do you feel like you need to move, or what's your plans? Like, what do you plan on doing?
Well, to be realistic, I can't move. I have a teenage son who's doing amazing in life. My screw-ups have made him go down the right path. I have a husband who is doing amazing in this city. So basically, I will stay here and I will suffer. I will continue to look for minimum wage jobs. I've been on interviews. People are nice, but they can't hire me. There's always a reason, Like,
well, do they know about? Do they know? Like, do they know that you were busted? Like, do you tell them, or do they just?
No. At first, the first few months, I went on interviews, and I was not on social media loud. Nothing, It wasn't until I had one interview where a woman was like, "Oh, you're fully qualified." Yes, 100%. My head office wants you running a store. Perfect, I thought. And then she sat back, crossed her arms, and laughed at me and said, "Do you really think I don't know who you are? Google is a wonderful tool." And it was very embarrassing. I literally just stood up and looked at her and said, I could have been the best person for this position. And I keep trying. Like, I do. My resume, I'm probably going to change my name and take on my husband's name. Just to,
I understand.
I got to do something, right? Like, I'm live.
Yeah,
People know Nova.
I feel ya.
I can't
I feel ya. Yeah. Okay, hon, on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few about 2 minutes. So I'd like to thank my sponsors, who are 12 High Chicks Magazine, MUM, the Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners, and the Haley Rose Foundation. Our song is Maccabee. Everyone loves Bob Marley. We'll be right back.
Robert Nesta Marley, me say happy anniversary. Rastaman vibration, high like a lion in a Zion. We ball out. Everybody loves Bob Marley. Everywhere I go, it's the same old story. People of all nations, they love the Rastaman vibration. Everybody loves Bob Marley. Everywhere I go, it's the same old story. People of all nations, they love the Rastaman vibration. Happy anniversary to Bob Marley. 1995, he would have been 50. Spread reggae music internationally, over many oceans and across many seas. Traveling round the world, one thing that I see, everybody know about Bob Marley. And if them ever find some men on the moon, I'm sure they will know some Bob Marley tune. We ball out. Everybody loves Bob Marley. Everywhere I go, it's the same old story. People of all nations, they love the Rastaman vibration. Say get your fire, who they can fit a one love to the natural mystic. Me ball get up, stand up for your rights. No more trouble, Africa unite. Chances are we'll be jamming in a rainbow country where the sun is shining. Bob simmer down, him take an exodus and him fly away home. And I watch the crazy ballets running away from town. We're born up. Everybody loves Bob Marley. Everywhere I go, it's the same old story. People of all nations, they love the Rastaman vibration. Everywhere me go, people tell me about Bob. Say in some countries, Bob next to God. Put on a Bob record, the place gone mad. People are all up them and in the air like a flag. Bob promote the good, they never promote the bad. In the musical chain, he was one of the main cog. Well, it's about time they give a Grammy to Bob. Bob, you did a great job. Oh, everybody loves Bob Marley. Everywhere I go, it's the same old story. People of all nations, they love the Rastaman vibration. A messenger from Jah, he was doing God's work. He spread Rastafari all over the earth. Lyrically, musically, Bob was an expert. Spiritually, you should have seen him in a concert. Oh, that liquor Rastaman from Jamaica. 1981, he went to meet the creator. And look now, 14 years later, the man's popularity is even greater.
All right, we're back with Nova. We're talking a bit over the break about the court case and, the fact that it's taken forever, which is ridiculous on top of it. Kind of like Dana, but Dana was able to get his kind of thrown out because it took so long for the seed bust that he had in Calgary. Now, is that a possibility for you guys at all?
I'm waiting for the phone to ring.
Because that would be a possibility that, it took too long. But again, you said on the break, you're not pleading guilty. So that's,
No, I wasn't selling weed on a corner out of a fanny pack, I wasn't selling cocaine or being a drug dealer out of a car with a hoodie, I was out in the open selling medical cannabis to patients who proved that they needed it. Not that I'm a doctor, but they, you know what I mean? Like, I had to prove I needed it to shop there.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, you have a pharmacist that doles out the medicine after you've seen a doctor for your prescription. And for patients like us that don't want to use a licensed producer, that grow our own, sometimes we're in between. We want to go use a dispensary. And even when you're waiting for your licensed producer to send your stuff in the mail, you might be out. Your licensed producer might not be able to get you any medicine till the next day. There's there for a reason. There's a gap for access in this country, especially when you think about mail order. Everything's going to be mail order. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, seriously, like I use online dispensaries too and have to wait, 20, usually 2 days to get anything. And that sucks. And for me to even drive to go to Kimberley with the roads being the way they are right now, I wouldn't be going anywhere. Like, it's glare ice out there. So there's a gap for access all across this country. Dispensaries are indispensable, and the people that work behind the counters are as well, because not everybody can do that job.
You have to have compassion and understand sickness and not be too nosy, because we're not qualified. But you should be able to tell if a person is taking a narcotic from the government by their skin, their eyes, not necessarily the paperwork, right?
Was your staff given any training? Like, when you started working for them, do you go through a training process with the company? Like, do they train you first before you get behind the counter, or is it?
Honestly, I think with me, I was treated very different than most people. I was the oldest one on the staff. I had a lot of knowledge. Like, I make my own tinctures, I make my own vapes, my own candies, my own gummies. So I walked in with a lot of knowledge and teaching the younger generation things like old school generation coals and, like just how we used to make things. They used me as a learning technique too in the city. So we worked together. And then when I opened up a location franchise for them, I put a lot of effort into my staff. I had very compassionate people. I had true fighters that believed in the cause. I'm not sure if any of them are there anymore at the location. I don't know. Everyone scatters in this city. It's a very small community.
I know you found it. I know you found it frustrating in Ottawa to try and gather a community of activists together. You say it's really difficult out there. And I mean, I know friends that live out in Ottawa. Russ and Christine are out there, but Russ and Christine are very ill. Like, Christine's epileptic. She can't be out in public doing a lot of public things because it triggers her epilepsy a lot. So unfortunately, because they are so ill, they can't be out as much as they'd like to be. But because I know those two are vocal and want to be out there and would love to do more things if they could, but because of their illness, they can't. So those are they're Canada-wide activists. Russell Barth is well known across the country. I don't know.
I've actually reached out a few times to local activists in the community. I'm not sure why or what the situation is. I think because of where I worked, we were kind of outcasted. And that's why I do a lot of social media loudness myself.
Now, you're saying that, so you worked for Weed's franchise, but it was bought by somebody other than the people that own it, the whole franchise. So those owners. Yeah. Okay, so those owners, like, we're not talking about the Weed's franchise per se, because I'm talking about the owners.
I don't know the owners.
But the owners of your location where you were busted, have they been supportive at all?
I received a phone call from a voice of a man, if that means anything. I spoke to him the same way I speak to anybody. The whole situation is messed up.
But they've not reached out to help you financially, to get you a lawyer. There is no coverage.
Actually, the head office has stepped forward when it comes to mine and Cassie's legal fees. That was done upon the raid. The day of the raid, it was announced to the media that they would cover our thing. They have followed through with our legals. They have. But when it comes to the city of Ottawa, we don't have support here from the people you used to work with, you call family, right? We had a lot of love for each other. I'm not sure. I don't know. They've locked the doors up. It used to be an open door business. Now you have to buzz to get in. The whole franchise has changed here. I'm not sure what's going on, honestly.
Well, I mean, that could be for security, for protection of, by fault of not having that, like, so a learning curve kind of thing. You'd think that, okay, the first location didn't have, because I'll tell you, the first time I ever walked into a dispensary in downtown Toronto, you were buzzed into a cage. Okay, there's a big, huge guy standing at the door, and you had to show your pinks at the door. You had to buzz yourself in. You walked into a caged area, and then you got buzzed into that, and then the girls were serving behind bulletproof glass. Well, that was
no, I would not work in. No,
that was calm.
I would not work
was the first compassion.
No. Our place was very classy, open door, open policy. It was very community-based, very compassionate. I wouldn't work in an underground, sketchy place. Like I'm a little too old for that kind of lifestyle. It's just like now I order in the mail now. Do you know what I mean? It's just different age groups, different sceneries, different situations. What I worked in was not your average every day. It was a medical dispensary. Clean, organized. We dressed very classy, very clean. I was arrested in a dress and high heels, like a gown. I sold suits for years. It's not, we didn't have hoodies and tracksuits and running shoes. We were classy, very classy, actually.
And I think that's the way, professionalism, right? We don't want people to see us as the dirty hippie stigma that we've all been fighting. And there's nothing wrong with dirty hippies either. Don't get me wrong. I love dirty hippies. You know what I mean? But I mean, like professionalism, right? So that's something that, I know a lot of us as activists have really changed our demeanor. When we first started going out, there'd be, fairy wings and, all kinds of weird stuff that people were doing. As we evolved over the years, I go out now and I'm wearing business attire, right? I went to, the legalization roundtables in Vancouver, and what you see me wearing on, online, if I'm wearing my hoodie and a t-shirt, that's not what I wear when I go to meet with MLAs and MPs. And so I think that's where we've started kicking the stigma, right?
That's fair, but when here in Ottawa, it is the capital of Canada. People we were dealing with were national defense clients, lawyers, doctors, people that were discreet. So we had a very different image in our store than what's portrayed across Canada.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's what we'd like to see all across the country. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good that you guys took that step, because I've been into dispensaries in Vancouver. Yeah.
I feel that's why we were in trouble by Ottawa, though, because we did it properly. We stayed within the guidelines.
It was Ottawa City Police that busted you, right? It wasn't the RCMP.
No, actually, it was two teams. I was arrested twice. I had my rights read to me twice, once by the task force and once by the Ottawa City Police.
And the task force is federal then, or?
I'm not sure. They were the masked men. That is what I was told.
Yeah. Well, but it probably would be a federal, because cannabis is a federal charge, right? So it doesn't matter how you slice it or where you get busted. They have a federal crown that comes in and rolls down the charges. Because when I was busted, what's that? Sorry?
Like I said, we're being treated like puppets. We have a constitutional challenge after our court date. We reach out to people. We don't know what's going on with our future. Like, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be contacting my lawyers to say, what's going on? Like, we need to know what's going on now. What are our next steps? Parts of the disclosure have not been released. There's a lot still to come. It's a waiting game right now, basically.
Right. So how many people were actually charged in that raid? Just two or all? So it's just two women that have been charged?
Yes. And there was multiple people in the building. So either I was working with a bunch of cops, or I don't know. They pick and choose. It's just like when the possessions get seized, nobody knows. Do you know what I mean? It's not in the media. It's very. Let's just say if you're good at your job, you're out. That's just how it is here.
That's terrible. I don't even know what to say because, like I said, it just sounds so ridiculous that they've basically picked two people out of a crowd and said, we're going to persecute you. And the two most invasive, like, women of all things. Like, I find that kind of appalling that they've just targeted. And it feels like, and I'm sure you feel that way too. I'm sure you feel targeted. Like, and a year later, you're still battling and don't have all your disclosure. I can't imagine how you feel, Nova. I'm so sorry, Wick. What a horrible situation to be in.
I'm not the same person I was last year. Anyone who's known me my whole life knows I'm a totally different person now.
No, it makes you bitter, doesn't it? Like, it just makes you bitter.
It does, and that's scary to me, like, because I try and remain very positive. Anyone who knows me has known I'm a healer, I'm a helper, and right now I'm so angry that it's better that I seclude myself, right? Like, you're the first person I talk to, really.
Yeah, and I'm so far away. I wish there was more I could do to be proactive to help you. I wish, like I said, I wish there was more. And like I said, I don't know a lot of people in Ottawa either. Like, I've been to Ottawa a couple times, or I guess once. We went out to protest. Oh God, that was like 9 years ago, I think now, when we were on the Hill. And I was able to stay with Russ and Christine. It was fabulous. But most of the people that came for that protest were from other places, not from Ottawa. There was, like, I think Russ and back then, I don't think even Stitch Grady was involved in anything, or, but most of the people that came to that protest came from across the country. And I mean, all the way from Nova Scotia.
Yeah, there was a man named Stu that came up for our very first protest at City Hall. We paid for a permit and all. Like, we did have people at the beginning, and then it just kind of faded away. But it's like, no, I'm almost 40 and I have 19 charges. That's not fair. And then my co-host, she's got 14, and she rolled joints. She didn't even sell. So it's like, why is she being penalized? This whole situation is, like you said, I think we're a target, and I don't know why.
Yeah, and that doesn't make any sense. Like, and that's, why you have a lawyer. You think the lawyer would be able to find out that information for you. But again, like Ontario law, it's not different. It's a federal law. It should be all disclosed the same as any federal case. Because, like I said, even when I was busted in Tabor, like 10 years ago, it was a federal crown that came from Calgary that had to do my charges and roll my case out too. So it's not like it's not federal. It's all the same across the board in every province. I like I said, I can't imagine what you're going through. That's one of the reasons why I've never pushed the envelope, because I've got charges prior. I can't afford to be charged again. If I do, it would be horrific for my family. So hence why, I've kind of hung back and not pushed the envelope and opening a dispensary here. I've gone and talked to the mayor and been told no, went to the RCMP and said, not up to us, is what they told me. Like, it's not up to us. Like, if you can get a business license.
If I had a ton of money right now, I would open up another one and take the risk again. Really, when it comes down to it, they said they charged me one day, and then 2 weeks later they announced recreational would be legal in Canada. Do you know how hard that is on like my whole family? My mother disowned me. She was a military soldier. Like, it's more embarrassing than what people actually see. There's Canadian families involved. There's so much politics involved, and everyone just says, "Oh, you'll get your charges dropped. Don't worry."
I don't know that, though.
That's not my lawyer's not saying that to me. So how can everybody in Canada say, "Don't worry, your charges are going to get dropped"?
Yeah, no.
Like,
well, no, and there's no guarantee of that, right? Like, there is no guarantee. It depends on how hard-ass that Crown wants to go after you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's basically up to the Crown, and that's the worst part about the whole thing too, is that, and the judge, of course, because what's that? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, I beg for amnesty when it comes down to it. I just want all these charges dropped so I can move on.
Absolutely. And, and I hope to God that's exactly what happens for you. You know what I mean? Like, I really do. Now we're coming up on a break, and I've got a contest out there for my listeners today. So I'm going to ask a question. And if you've been listening to my show from start to finish, from the October 6th start date of last year, you might know this answer. So what I want everybody to do is go to my Cannabis and Coffee page on Facebook. That's where I want you to put your answers. So I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to put your answer down. Everybody with the correct answer's name is going to go into a hat. And at the end of the show, I will pull the name out of the hat, and that will be the winner of the Shatterizer. I will send you a Shatterizer. I will send you an extra globe, and I will send you a ceramic bowl, and I will pay for the shipping. So it doesn't matter where you are in Canada, Canada only though, folks, sorry. I will send you out this. So we're going to start the contest with the question. And the question is, who was the very first guest of Cannabis and Coffee? Again, I will thank my sponsors, who are 12 High Chicks Magazine, Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society, MUM, the Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, the Haley Rose Foundation, and our song is going to be 422, and I fucking missed it again, by Jim Melvin of the Royal Kush Band. And again, that question is, who was the very first guest of Cannabis and Coffee with Tamarijuana? Your answers have to be on my Facebook page. We'll be right back.
I've got so many watches, timers on ovens, set just to get me to you. Wore out an 8-track of Elvis, shaking my pelvis. We were knocking them blue suede boots. When I opened up the wine, I forgot where the time went, and I drank till nothing was left. And now it's 422. I fucking missed it again. Don't get paid till tomorrow. I'm too proud to borrow. Tonight's a bust for me. Dispensaries all over this country, but I can't get no THC. Well, no package in the mail. This isn't going well. I'll get by with a little help from my friends. But now it's 422. I fucking missed it again.
Just go. Okay, so we're just going to go. So before the break, we asked the question, who was the very first guest on Cannabis and Coffee with Tamarijuana? And you just put your answer on the Cannabis and Coffee page on Facebook. And not one of you have answered. So the Shadow Razor might just be sitting here for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that sucks to be you guys. Anyway, so over the break, we were just kind of talking about the fact that, opening a dispensary and the whole gray area of it and, why we would or why we wouldn't, because we all speculate at one point in time how we'd love to work behind the counter because we want to help people. And I think many of us that do come into this right from the get-go, it's always usually because of law reform, whether you want to change the law, whether you want to help people, whether you are a patient or you're not a patient. And I think once you get involved, starting to use cannabis as a patient, it's like the movement pulls you in. Is that how you felt when you kind of got going here, Nova?
Well, I've always been part of it. I've always used cannabis over medicine, across Canada. I just feel we had a voice. We needed to use our voice now that we had the opportunity. And especially having a dispensary on Parliament Hill, why not, right?
Right. And that's the thing, like I said, there's so many people out there that, like I said, you're held back. Some people, for example, like myself, because I've got a child. And in reality, we went and got licensing because we had a child, because we wanted to protect him. Right. So I think that's a lot of catalysts as to why people are looking at the medicinal, licensing is because they qualify. So they do it, even though it's...
You have, your access is your access. Who's to tell you you can and can't have it? If it was a religious thing, you can say, I'm not taking that medicine, and nobody can fight you, right? So what's the difference? The raid forced me to get my legal license to protect myself, because walking of my employment, if I had any medicine in my bag, I could be arrested. So the raid forced me to go to a doctor. And at first I was denied by a doctor. He actually said, you 100% qualify for a license. And yes, but I'm not going to give it to you because of where you work. Is that fair? So I made another appointment and was approved the second time for my license. No questions asked. Second doctor's appointment. Whose marijuana are you smoking? I wouldn't say. I just said street marijuana and my LP. My license was cut in half instantly. Where's the fairness in this?
There isn't any. So, and like I said, there isn't any. And here's the thing. The doctor is a damn gateway. The doctor has been the damn gateway since the very beginning. Matt Myrna fought that in court and lost, unfortunately. I was a witness in that case. My doctor here, and I don't care who hears this, signed me and my husband both for our ACMPR last year when we needed to. February 1st to be exact, because it took 9 months for me to get my fucking license, and it's expiring here February 1st. Well, here's the funniest shit ever. My doctor now here in Cranbrook has refused to sign our renewal. So now again, I have to doctor shop, go find a clinic somewhere that's likely not going to give me my 10 grams a day. They're going to cut me back to 5, probably cut Alvin from his 20 back to 5, and we're screwed. So here's my stance on things. I ain't even going to get a fucking license again. I'm done. I'm not doing it. I'm not playing the game anymore.
And that's what we're fighting for, is access. That's what we're fighting for, is access.
Excellent. Okay, exactly. And that's the thing with the doctors. It just, and I said when I was in those legalization roundtables, if you just recognize marijuana as a medicine, it takes that gateway the hell out of the way, or at least gives them some form of research or something to, you know what I mean, to actually do it, where the doctors have some protocol where they can quit using that. We don't have the excuse of, we don't know the dosing anymore. I'm so sick of hearing about dosing and what they do and what they don't know. If you can Google medical marijuana and take 4 hours out of your day, you will find out everything you need to know.
Yeah,
doctors won't do that.
I had a doctor that would shop with me in the dispensary. He just had to be low key so nobody knew he was there. I have conversations with people that they do support it. It's all monopoly and money, and it shouldn't be that way because it's a weed. It's a plant.
Exactly.
I'm with Dana Larson. I'm totally with Dana Larson. Just throw seeds everywhere and just outgrow it. Just grow it everywhere.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we should be able to do. It should, I don't know, like I said, this regulation, over regulation, prohibition 2.0, like I was there, with the legalization roundtables. I got the 75-page proposal. I've read through the damn thing. Some of it's good. And I've said this again and I will say this again. People who just use cannabis recreationally that have been in their closet for the last 20 years because they don't want to come out, they don't want to say anything politically, nothing. They just want to smoke a joint when they get home. This is a fabulous bill for them, and I'm not going to say it any other way because all they're seeing is no jail for a joint, no jail for 30 grams of pot. They'll be able to dabble in 4 plants because a lot of people, they only want to grow 1 or 2. They don't see the benefits of having more and more, right? And so basically what my doctor told me is with the legal program, they're not going to need big licensing. Patients with cancer and MS are going to get the licensing only, and it's going to be for 2 to 5 grams. So patients, again, need to really get on that cannabis at canada.ca website and there's a questionnaire, fill it out, because everybody has the opportunity to put that proposal in, whether you're a non-for-profit, whether you're a personal citizen or not. It's a question and answer. Go onto that website and do it, because patients are going to be the ones that are left out of the loop in this legalization. Recreational people, like even I've said this, I'm not really interested in the whole thing, right, as far as legalization goes. But if they're going to be importing and exporting, this is one, aspect in a couple of years. I would be interested in maybe trying some cannabis from Spain or some cannabis from Amsterdam or somewhere other than Canadian cannabis, which would be comparable because we do have the best cannabis in the world as far as I'm concerned. But in reality, that's the only thing in the whole realm of it that really is any intriguement to me, that I might be able to try some cannabis from a different country. Other than that, I want to be able to grow my own. But like I said, because of the gateway situation that we've got, because we've got college and physicians across the country being told one thing and another, until Health Canada comes out and recognizes cannabis as a medicine, it's never going to change.
But
Ever.
It has been recognized as a medicine because we all have licenses now for LP.
No, I know. But the thing of it is, on their website, and what they tell the college and physicians is totally opposite, right? And the only reason why we have this program is because we fought for it in fucking court. And if we hadn't gone to court, we would not have what we've got. So again, the government has given us fucking zero, zip, nothing, okay? Nothing. This has all been fought by patients in courts.
In May, we have a constitutional challenge here in Ottawa for our access.
For what, though? What is the constitutional challenge? Like, is it for dispensaries, or what is it for?
It's just to have access to medical marijuana. That's all I know so far.
Okay, well, who's running the constitutional challenge?
Yeah,
I'm curious to know this.
Pardon?
That's interesting. That's very interesting because in reality, we've already got that. So I don't understand what the constitutional challenge would be for access for what. Like, we've got our program.
But that is what we've been told by our legal team. We're puppets out here. We hear what they tell us. Like, I will be hounding them for the next few weeks. I know my partner, she hounds everybody to call her or mail her or something. We're really in the shadows here. We're taking the fall. That's what it is.
That's crazy. Yeah. Like, I guess because I haven't had, because I'm sheltered out here in BC, really. Like, I mean, I don't know what goes on in the legal system in Ottawa by any stretch, or anywhere else for that matter. So, it's difficult.
For 20 years, I've lived in many cities. I've always smoked cannabis. I've been able to get it, whether it be from a friend, a neighbor, on the street. I've never had an officer knock at my door. The minute I work in a medical dispensary, I have legal problems. Like, that doesn't make sense when cannabis has been around forever. And why are they arresting bud tenders? Why are the frontline people? Like, I was not making much money to risk my job. Even after I got caught in the raid, I still was making very minimal money compared to what people in the recreational industry are making. So that's why we're begging for everything just to be dropped. We're just begging now at this point. We're done. Neither one of us are working. You know what I mean? It's not like we can afford just to go walk back into the dispensary and buy from them either. Like, we're really in a situation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, like I said, it's just, I don't even know what to say anymore because it's just like I said, it's just so disheartening with legalization rolling out right around the corner. They're still busting dispensaries. They're still looking at people sideways. Stigma's still there, and here we all sit. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like, and you're being made an example, and so we need to try and get some countrywide support for you girls because really, you guys are out there by yourselves. There's two women out in Ottawa, people that are swinging in the wind, and they need our support. So as a cannabis community, let's get together and try and get these girls some support, because even if it's just a kind word, if you're in Ottawa, stand up, for God's sakes, do something. Like, I don't know what else to say, but quit hiding behind your computer. I mean, I know you're all scared. We've all been scared before, but we've got people that have been on the front lines that are going to maybe, their lives have been ruined as it is already. So, you know what I mean? Like, let's see what we can do to get some support for you guys. So if you got a GoFundMe page, can you tell us how to get onto that? Nova, do you have a GoFundMe page or?
It's spread all over Facebook, all over Twitter, all over Instagram. It is not hard to find. Casanova GoFundMe. We've had it up since before Christmas. I've started my own store to sell merchandise and jewelry. We're trying every method we can. And
what's the link to your store? What's the link to your store? Do you have a W?
No, it's just on my Facebook. It's just like a new and used, something small to keep my mind off of these charges, honestly, because I'm going crazy at home with social media. So I need to focus on other things. So I've just started selling new and used stuff, jewelry, just to keep my mind off of these charges. It's not about the money, and it's not about the money. It's about
support. It's about having somebody say, hey, I'm going to come hold your hand. And I understand that because
I have strangers all over my Facebook. I have people down in the States sharing my stories. I don't have locals. Why is that? Everyone smokes weed. Every third person you walk by on the street smokes weed, right? It's a statistic. Yes. But now that it's become recreational, nobody cares about the criminal aspect of it and what Canada is doing to us. I'm not selling fentanyl. I'm not selling crack. It's very unfair. And to be in the capital of Canada, I'm not proud to say I'm here. I'm not. I was so proud when I moved to Ottawa.
Well, that's, and that's where I've always thought that, it's the hub of the country. It's the best place to be. If I was ever going to go anywhere to, do activism, that's where it would be. Because, the lawn's there. You can be on Parliament Hill every day with a sign if you want to be. It's a matter of who's out there and who's actually doing it, right? And unfortunately, I don't see a lot of people out there in Ottawa doing a lot either. And that's, like I said, and it's not that they don't want to. Like, I know two of them that would love to be out on that lawn every single day. Trust me. And if they weren't, if they weren't sick, I mean, that's the thing too. Like, if they weren't sick, they would be out there every single day. I mean, I've seen Russ dressed up as Jesus with a cross walking through the...
But for instance, we have one of the biggest 420s other than Vancouver across Canada. So everyone can come out to the hill at 420 and light up. But when it comes down to actually fighting for your freedom, Canadians aren't stepping up.
Yeah, what's wrong with you, Ottawa? Come on, let's get this girl some help.
I'm calling them out. I'm calling everyone.
I don't blame you.
Because when raids are happening, I'm standing on a front doorstep and people are laughing at me, but I'm still there. And now they've got me locked up in the house being quiet. I'm not going to walk down the street by myself with a sign. I already did that up on Parliament Hill for my company by myself with a sign. I can't keep doing this by myself, but now I need to be loud for myself because this is my life now. And come on, people. It's a plant we all love. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we're down to our last minute of the show, and the contest hasn't been a real killer, so it looks like I got at least one listener out there. Well, two, because I know Mary's out there, so I'm going to give a shout out to a couple people that I know are listening to my show. Cindy Cannon, who I know is listening right now because she's got the one and only answer to the question that's right. Mary Williams, I know you're out there. You're always out there, honey, and I'm so appreciative for you to listen every day or every week. And Bill Kilborn out in Tabor, I know you're probably out there too, so we'll give you another shout out there. So unfortunately, Cindy Howell, I'm sorry, honey, you have the wrong answer. And I only got two people that have actually answered. So we're going to give it another 10 seconds for somebody to get on here to answer the question. who was the very first guest of my show? And I'm going to take this posting on the page that I know that the answer is right and delete it right now so that you can't cheat. And yeah, you got 5 seconds. Nobody? Anybody? It sounds like a lottery. Bingo! Okay, so the winner of the Shatterizer is actually a local person, which I'm pleased about because I know she listens and I'm very happy that she is still listening. Her real name I won't put out there because I know it and you don't, but Cindy Cannon, you have won yourself a Shatterizer. So I will get in touch with you today. Just so you know, the phone number you have for me no longer exists. I've changed my phone number. So I will get in touch with you today and get this to you. So again, I'd like to thank my sponsors who are 12 High Chicks Magazine, MUM, Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society, the Haley Rose Foundation, and Nova Coates for being on my show. Next week, I have Adela Falk from 420 POW out of the States. So tune in at 9:30 next Wednesday to hear from Adela. Y'all have a great week. Bye.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.